Red Line Reality.
Welcome to Red Line Reality. I'm William, a 20-year military veteran. I use my military experience along with geopolitical understanding to read the tea leaves and break down world events and how they impact America. Today I'm going to continue to talk about Iran, which I did in my last video. And there's not really a lot going on in the headlines today. We know that there is still a buildup around Iran. The United States is still sending tons and tons of military equipment. I feel this is a buildup to what appears to be larger than just bombing a few targets. But what I really want to focus on today is what happens if and when the Islamic regime of Iran falls. I think it's going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of time. I feel this buildup is hopefully happening with the intentions of giving the Islamic regime just a little bit of a shove to let the people of Iran take over. Now, the aftermath could look a few different ways. It could look like a peaceful transfer of power to the Crown Prince, Reza Pahlavi, I hope I pronounced that better, forming a transitional government, establishing a constitutional monarchy. I hope that is what happens, and that it's a peaceful transfer of power. It could also go the other way, to where there's a power vacuum. Iran is flooded with thousands of proxies or thousands of jihadis from around the Middle East that want to take advantage of the chaos that has been sown in Iran with the fall of the Islamic regime. But what I really want to focus on is that first option. Let's say that within the next week or two, America attacks Iran and topples the regime, allows Reza Pahlavi to come in, take power, and establish a transitional government. It could potentially mean sustainable and long-lasting peace in the Middle East, which is what I'm sure we all really hope for. And this is just speculation on my part. This is, again, kind of just reading the tea leaves, doing an analysis of what I think may happen in the future in the Middle East. So we know, given Iran's history since the throw of Reza Shah in 1979, that Iran has constantly, the Islamic regime has constantly been fomenting unrest in the Middle East. That's a good way to put it. So, as we know, the Islamic Republic of Iran, their government is mainly Shia, or all completely Shia, and the vast majority of the countries in the Middle East are Sunni. And if you don't know the history of the Muslim religion, there was a separation between the two branches of Islam back in the 600s, when the original founder of the religion died, Muhammad. He didn't leave a proper successor to kind of lead their religion, their church, whatever you want to call it, right? So that caused a divide and gave a rise to two branches of Islam. The Sunni and the Shia are the two major branches. A lot of the Sunni countries, they are Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan. A lot of the countries in the Middle East, the vast majority of the countries in the Middle East are Sunni. Iraq is split between Sunni and Shia. The Shia hold the majority in Iraq, and a couple other countries, they have a mixture, right? But the vast majority of the countries, other than Iraq and Iran, Shia is the majority in Iraq and Iran, the other countries in the Middle East and in the Muslim world, Sunni is the majority. Now, we know that Iran runs a whole lot of proxies, and I'm going to run down a list. I'm going to show you a map of what this means for the Iranian proxies if the Iranian regime falls. The website I'm using is the New York Post. They have a map here that I will upload and pop up on the screen. But you have, of course, Hezbollah in Lebanon. They are constantly a thorn in Israel's side. Israel has been attacking the last few days Hezbollah leaders. We also know that Iran supports Gaza or supports Hamas in Gaza, and we know what trouble is going on down there. They also support the Palestinian Islamic Jihad of the West Bank, which I just kind of consider that a continuation of the Palestinians and Gaza, even though this goes back to the Palestinian, I think it was the PLO or PLA, Palestinian Liberation Organization, or PLA, Palestinian Palestinian Liberation Army. There we go. That was led by Arafat in the 60s to the 80s, 90s. That was a little bit before my time, but I kind of lumped those two together, the West Bank and Gaza. So Iran also has spies in Jordan. Before the fall of Assad, the Iranians supported the Islamic regime, supported Assad in Syria. Now Syria is kind of a mess. We'll see how things shake down there in the next few years, but they still have fighters there. They still have proxy groups in Syria trying to undermine, I can't remember what his name is, the new leader of Syria. And of course, they also support the Houthis in Yemen. And then they also have a new group, a newer group of Hezbollah fighters in Iraq that are Sunni based in the southern part of Iraq. And then they have Al-Ishtar brigades of Bahrain. That's a group that seeks to overthrow the monarchy of Bahrain, and they have Iranian support. So you can see that's 8 different groups that the Islamic regime of Iran support, fund, however you want to look at it. And all of those groups in one way or another are geared with the goal of destroying Israel. At least that's what they claim to want to do. They don't have the ability or the power to do that, but that's what they sure do love to talk about, the destruction of Israel. And so, obviously, if those organizations suddenly lose their funding from Iran, that's going to weaken them tremendously. Israel has already made Hamas pay a tremendous toll in Gaza, and they make Hezbollah pay a tremendous toll frequently in southern Lebanon. You will also have Yemen. The civil war hopefully will end in Yemen, and the government will be able to take back control, hopefully, with the support of Saudi Arabia. So the Middle East could be a completely different scenario once the Islamic regime falls. When I was in Iraq, the first deployment in, 2003 into 2004, so kind of the beginning, OIF 1 we'll call it, Iraq was a different place. Like, really the biggest issues we had there were foreign fighters, remnants of Saddam's army, and that was more on the Sunni side, and the Shia side down south in Iraq was kind of, they were a little bit more restive. But then that changed once Iran started getting more involved, and you pretty much had a civil war break out in Iraq between the Sunni and the Shia, and Iran funneled a whole lot of money into Shia militias, and they started making tremendous IEDs with technology they were getting from Iran. And so the whole outlook on our involvement in Iraq changed when Iran got involved, just with them funneling money into the Shia militia groups. So if you look at Iran and it falls, all these organizations that are going to lose support, they can't cause the same level of trouble anymore. They may still kind of resort to insurgency style tactics, which is pretty much what they've been using, but they're just not going to have the same level of funding. They're not going to have the same level of money to pull that off, and they won't continue to get weapons from Iran. Another thing that I think is underlooked in this entire this potential events leading up to the overthrow of the Iranian theocracy is that its effect that it will have on Russia and China. So Venezuela a couple weeks ago, with us pulling Maduro out of there, Russia lost access to military bases. Russia lost access to oil. China lost access to ports right in our backyard in South America. I believe China gets 3 to 5% of its oil from Venezuela. So that's a little bit of a hit already. But when you add the potential for Iran to no longer supply oil to Russia and China, China potentially loses 15 to 20% of its oil supply between Venezuela and Iran. So not only potentially does this strengthen America with a stable Middle East and lowering oil prices and all that other stuff that ties in just the Middle East, right? It also weakens China and Russia, which if you're a supporter of America, that is never a bad thing. If China loses 20% of its oil supply, that's going to make it a lot more difficult for China to go try to invade Taiwan. Now, of course, we want a free Iran because the Iranian people deserve it. There have probably been millions of Iranian citizens killed since the Islamic regime took control in '79 with the help of Jimmy Carter and the CIA and France and England. There was a whole lot of shady going on down there, which allowed the Islamic regime to take power. Now, that is almost 50 years ago that happened, that they've been in charge. And the Iranian people were westernized before that. Most of Iran isn't Islamic by choice. They're Islamic by force because you have to be. So, of course, we want the Iranian people to be free. We want them to be friendly to Western nations, of course, and their government. But I really think that this will bring a whole lot of stability to the Middle East as a whole. And like I said, God knows the Iranian people deserve to live in peace and prosperity. But I think a bigger thing that lies underneath the surface that I haven't really heard as many people talk about is the impact that it will have on Russia and China. They already lost an ally in Venezuela, potentially, and hopefully it continues down that path. They lost another one in Syria when Assad flew off to Moscow. So maybe the Ayatollah, if he survives to escape from Iran, maybe they'll be buddies in Moscow. I don't know what it is about Russia and all them and them taking in all these bad guys all the time, but if Russia's willing to do it and they don't cause us any problems, then more power to them. I just don't want the Ayatollah in charge of Iran anymore. We need democracy in Iran. Now, a few things that kind of lay under the surface of this. Initially, Saudi Arabia wasn't real happy at the thought of taking out the Ayatollah. Why would Saudi Arabia not be supportive of that? Saudi Arabia and Iran, in the current configuration of their government, they're not great friends. Well, my thoughts on this are, and of course this is all speculation, none of this is guaranteed to happen. Again, this is just kind of my reading the tea leaves, understanding a little bit of the dynamics, the power plays, the politics that go on in the Middle East. But Saudi Arabia is an authoritarian monarchy rooted very strongly in its branch of Sunni Islam, which is Wahhabism. So it's very similar to Iran in a lot of ways, other than Shia and Sunni and a theocracy versus an absolute monarchy. So the Saudis might not be too happy of this once the Saudi Arabian people realize what freedom looks like. That could kind of undermine their authority in Saudi Arabia. So on the surface, it's very simple to understand to me why Saudi Arabia wouldn't be happy with the thought of us toppling the regime. They said the other day they weren't going to let us use their airspace to launch sorties from. But I think they've come to an agreement and they've decided to go ahead and let us do that. So a lot of variables going on in there, a lot of things that could change. And again, it all just depends on how quick the transfer of power is and how peaceful that transfer is. But think about how amazing Israel can be moving forward with an ally in Iran. Historically, they're friends going all the way back to biblical times. Just think about how prosperous Israel can be, Iran can be, and the stability that that can bring to the Middle East as a whole, and allow it to strengthen America in the process. So for me, it's a win-win. Iran, their government has never had such a tenuous hold on power since the initial revolution in '79 than it does right now. So for me, the time is now. If America is going to act, the time is now. And by this buildup going on in the Middle East, I don't think that this is just going to be a couple bombs dropped. I think that this is going to be a much larger action that happens in Iran, again, that allows the people of Iran to take control back from their government. So again, just me reading the tea leaves. Don't take any of this as the gospel. This is just me kind of spitballing and kind of reading the chessboard, so to speak. But again, the people of Iran need and deserve freedom. If America and Israel comes to their aid and deposes the Islamic regime, we could be looking at a new Middle East in the future. So thanks for stopping by, checking out the video. This is a new channel for me. I'm just getting it off the ground, and it's hard to start and grow a new YouTube channel. So if you're still with me, please give this one a like, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Is there going to be a peaceful transition in Iran when we take out the Ayatollah, or if the Ayatollahs are taken out? Or is it going to devolve into total chaos, similar to the situation that we dealt with in Iraq and Afghanistan? Let me know your thoughts below, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Red Line Reality.